Hi, everybody. It's me again, Raquel. I'm so excited to be with you again today. And I just want to explain to you the next task you'll be doing. I know you've done a lot of wonderful drawing with Sabine, and now you're ready to have a conversation and try to map that out, literally. So, we're going to be using the mapping metaphor again in a little bit of a different way. So, I have in front of me a piece of paper that I'm going to model the exercise. Now, in the best case scenario, we would have modeled the exercise with Sabine and I, but this is another way to do it. All right, so what I want you to do is, with your partner, you're going to have a conversation about what is going on in your life at the moment. So, what does your life look like if we mapped it out? So now we're not going to be doing a journey as per se, but a mapping of where you are right now and what is your life made up of, and creating an artifact of that. So if I was with my partner, I would ask them some basic questions like, and do some just basic note taking here in a kind of corner of the space. So this is a rough area, so I'm just going to be using that space itself. Oh, I see that it's not coming into the camera, so I'm just going to move my paper a little bit. All right. So if I think about a note-taking space, something like in the corner, and I can, or on the back of a piece of paper, actually. So you know what? We could write it here, and then we could just flip over the paper as well, or write on a separate piece of paper. But I'll just do everything on one to make it clearer. Okay, so I'm pretending I have a partner, and I ask them, all right, so um, what things are in your life right now? What takes up your time? And what things do you do? So, or what people are in your life? And that person would respond. Yeah, so I'll just model the conversation. So, what is your life made up of at the moment? Well, my life is made up of work. So I'd write that down. And I have doing research. I'm in school still, or I'm in university, or I'm doing some specific research. So I'm going to write here university, and then as well I have a partner. Yeah, so I'm in a relationship, and I've got a wonderful pet, and then I have a family and friends. So I have a wide group of friends, right? Or I have a few close friends, depending on what they answer. All right. So if I'm thinking I've got a few things, and again, you don't have to name everything. It could have just been a couple of things if you want to share something about work or a university and friends or hobbies, right? Some things that could come up, how you spend your time. And I'll think, okay, if I wanted to map some of these, so let's say that person would really have just answered that they have work, they have university, they have hobbies, and then family and friends. All right, and so if I think about in relation to each other, what do you think takes up most of your time? And that person would say, okay, they are quite driven at the moment for their work or university. So this seems to take up most of this time, this pair, and they've paired them together, right? So they're doing research and they're studying at the same time, and they don't have a separate job. So I would say, okay, that is the bulk, right? So if you think in 100%, what kind of percent of your time takes? So they'd say, okay, that takes up, let's say, 60% of my time. And what about in relation to that? What about what the time that's left? Hobbies, family, friends, and they said, well, they have a really passionate about their hobby, so that takes up about, let's say, 20% of their time, and then they have they're not living near their family, so that takes up less time, let's say 5%, and their friends then take up the last 15% of their time. Okay, so in relation to that, so I'm thinking that when I'm going to be drawing their map, I have to, if I'm going to be drawing a space that represents work and university, that is going to have to take up a lot of space. Hobbies will take up less space, and family and friends, or family the least, friends the second least. Okay, and now I would ask them, if I was going to draw a map as a metaphor of your life, what kind of map would it be? Would it be something that is like everybody knows what a map looks like? So would it be an urban map? So would it be the map with a cityscape in it? Would it be something in nature? So in forest? Would it be something in the countryside with fields and a small pond, or what would it be like? Or would it be something like islands in water? Where do you see, what kind of metaphor of a map would you like to draw today? Right? If I would ask you to do this tomorrow or another day, your map would look different. So just for now, we're stopping and drawing a map in this way. Okay, so then we go on, and they say, all right, I'd like to draw something with islands and surrounded by water. Now remember, we're listening. The person drawing is listening to understand, and all the questions you want to be asking are questions that further your understanding. So you have to keep checking in. So if I think, all right, if I'm going to be drawing, are these islands? Do you think these are all islands? And they say yes. All right, great. Now islands can look really different. So, so you have to ask some check-in questions afterwards. But we just start to, at some point you have to start making some markings, and just, again, you can start off with a pencil because you can then use a black marker afterwards. So I think, okay, are you particular about what kind of shape the island is? Is it a really even shaped, or, and they say, well, my research is a little bit organic, and it's reaching out into different things. So I like my island to have maybe some peninsulas, some bays, some things that are jutting out. So I'm thinking, okay, so I just start to sketch what I think that might look like. Some rocky coasts there. Oh, I see that's not showing. Yeah, so I'm thinking that, remember, this takes up 60% of this person's time, so it has to take up a good amount of space. So something like that, I check in with them, they say, yeah, that looks great. So, and I'm thinking, okay, so this is your island of work and uni, yeah? And what about hobbies? That's the next thing, right, in our list that takes up a lot of time, so 20%. Do you find that if I would place the island of hobbies, is that close to this island, or spatially in relation to that island, does it farther away? And they think, well, my hobbies really don't have anything to do with my work at university, so I would like it to be away. And where would you like to place it on this map? And they say, okay, right here in this top corner, in the northwest corner, if you want to think about direction. So, okay, and that is, and they said, yeah, I'm really clear with my hobbies. I know what I'm doing, so maybe a clearer shape to that. Okay, so we have kind of rectangular island, let's say. And then what about family and friends? Where would you situate that? So friends is the next thing. We have about 15% of your time is with that. So where would you situate that? They say, okay, I would situate that near my hobbies, because a lot of my friends are involved with my hobbies. So okay, so then and that kind of island, well, that's I get so much joy from them and so much support. So maybe you can even make it kind of like a heartish shape. So all right, so yeah, so we have like that heart island, right? And it's a little bit smaller than, because we had 20% for hobbies, 15%. And these are just ballpark figures, right? We don't have to be so exact, but it gives us a feeling in relation to other things, what takes up space in your time. And we could show that, right? So the amount of time or space it takes in your life could be shown graphically. Right, so this was Hobby Island, and this was Friend Island. So just remember. And then what about family? Family is about 5%. You're not living near them. You don't have a lot of contact with them at the moment since you're away. And so they're not able to take up that much space in your life. And then say, well, they have really, it's not really connected to my friends or my hobbies. And not to my university either. So maybe here in this bottom corner, right, we can do a little, and again, maybe a heart kind of island for that. Sorry, I've drawn it so in the bottom. All right, so so now we have a little bit of our map. So I'll draw that actually, I'll redraw that family so that you see it in the lens. Great. So we've got a little bit of heart there. So we've got family, we've got friends, and hobbies and university. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, because I want to really represent what you're thinking about there. So, this could have been if they said, for example, we can start with a hobby. That's something. So what is that hobby that you have? I want to understand what that is. Okay, so they play basketball. Okay, that's their hobby, right? So okay, so actually we can think, could the island be a hoop? I didn't ask that before, but now I realize that could be something representational. It could be something abstract. So something like that, right? That looks like a basketball hoop. And so do you have? But you said that your friends are connected with your hobby, yeah? Yes. So if we were to connect them somehow, would it be by land, or is it like a bridge would connect them? What would help you to explain the relationship between your friends and your hobby? And they said, well, they're directly related. So maybe we can even do like a land that the land extends over here, right? So it's connected. So these two islands are connected by a little bit of land. Great. And what about university? What about, do you have friends from there? And yes, but like I think that is maybe, connected to certain aspects. So we could start to think, okay, let's start to break up this work or uni. In what kind of areas or regions is that? So somebody would talk about their research and what kind of you still taking courses, or what are you doing there? So they say, okay, we're doing just a lot of independent research, and that's taking up a great bulk of my time. So maybe make an area there that this would be the research area. And just lightly with your pencil labeling that. So that says research. Hope you can see that. And then other jobs, you're as an assistant to some professor, so that's taking up that much time, and so on. You can start thinking, okay, like if we're going to represent, and let's say we fill in more spaces, yeah, and the same here. But you want to be drawing also some using metaphor. So now we've mapped out the space, you've mapped out the size, what kind of regions there are, and now you want to be thinking, all right, what is that like research area? What does that look like? Is that a very, like, is it, islands in Finland are really rocky. We've got a lot of like bedrock, so we've got a lot of gray rock, and that's what my mind goes to. Somebody else might think of like lush palm trees and so on. In Finland, it's gray rock with evergreen trees, so trees with little needles, not so much, and we have birch trees. So I wouldn't draw a palm tree, but I've got to check in with my partner and say, okay, in this research area, what kind of vegetation is there? Or is it like highly populated with people and buildings, your island of university and work? And again, so I start to fill in. They say, okay, it's a really lush, with vegetation. It's very organic, lots of paths, lots of walking paths. So, okay, so I just start to draw some like walking paths here, and they're connecting. Does that seem to look like what you mean? And they say yes, and or they could correct me. And then what kind of vegetation? So they said really lush, and so I said like what kind of trees? And they say trees with leaves or lots of green. Yeah, and so then I start to draw that. So I think like is a something like that. Yeah, with leaves. Yes, and kind of grasses and yeah. All right. Okay, so now I'm getting an idea, and I can already start to bravely take my marker. So I've mapped out different things, and I think, okay, so now I'm going to, after the conversation, I'm just drawing some like leaves. That's what they said it looked like, yeah, and some like tall grasses. And you thinking like, I really have like, I want some fruit trees there because I'm producing things, I'm harvesting all the time, and so it would be some like like an orchard of fruit trees, right? So, and I say, well, what kind of fruit? Like apples or, well, like I see oranges, yeah. So afterwards, I would be taking a orange marker, and yeah, so I would be saying, okay, these are orange trees here. Yeah, and that's what that person's kind of research area looks like. And yeah, oops, seem to have frozen. But I think you get the idea now, and I don't want to redo the video because we've had a little bit of a technical glitch here. But I think you get the idea, all right? And I'll just post a further picture in a moment.